When I met Kevin, he was the kind of man who made you feel like you were the only woman in the world. He had dreams bigger than his wallet, eyes that held too many promises, and a smile that could talk a woman out of her logic. I was 26, working as a junior accountant at a small firm in Brooklyn, living paycheck to paycheck, splitting my meals to stretch groceries. Kevin was 29, an aspiring photographer waiting tables and offering free photo shoots to build his portfolio. We met at a bus stop. He offered to carry my broken umbrella. I laughed, and just like that, our love story began under the rain. He was talented, no doubt. His photos had depth, emotion, but talent doesn't pay rent. For the first 2 years of our relationship, I covered everything: rent, utilities, food, even his first DSLR camera. I believed in him the way a mother believes her child will one day become president. I wasn't just his girlfriend. I was his investor, therapist, and silent business partner. "I'll make it up to you someday," he would whisper at night, holding me like a promise. Then one day it happened. A gallery in Soho picked up his work. Suddenly, Kevin was being invited to exclusive events, flown out to LA for showcases, sipping champagne with people who used words like aesthetic and avant-garde without choking. I was proud. I thought, finally, our time has come. But I didn't realize that our time had become his time. He started traveling more and calling less. He'd return from his trips with new clothes, cologne that wasn't from the drugstore, and a distance in his eyes I couldn't name. When I asked about his whereabouts, he said I was acting insecure. When I cried for missing him, he said I was emotionally draining. Then came the night I'll never forget. He walked in late, suitcase in hand, and dropped the words like crumbs from his expensive boots. "Maya, I think we've grown apart." I stared at him in disbelief. "What are you saying?" "I met someone in LA. Her name is Alicia. She owns the gallery. She's older, refined, well-connected. She can help my career in ways you can't." I blinked. "You're leaving me for a woman who owns a gallery?" He shrugged, guilt-free. "You've always been supportive, and I'll always appreciate that. But I need to think about my future." I felt like I'd been punched in the chest by a ghost. I couldn't breathe. This was the man I nursed through creative breakdowns, who I fed when he couldn't afford ramen, who I believed in more than I believed in myself. He left 2 days later. No tearful goodbye. Just a note on the counter and silence that echoed through the apartment. A week after he left, I missed my period. I thought it was stress, but my instincts nagged. I bought a pregnancy test on the way home from work, sat alone in our tiny bathroom, and watched as two bold lines appeared before my shaking hands that I was pregnant. Alone. And completely unprepared, I texted Kevin, desperate, scared, clinging to the hope that somewhere inside him, the man I once loved still lived. "I'm pregnant." The reply came hours later. "Are you sure it's mine?" "Don't drag me into this, Maya. We're over. That was IT, and oh, we'll talk." "No, let's figure it out." Just a clean emotional amputation that I cried until my skin hurt. But even in the pit of heartbreak, I felt something shift inside me. Something feral, protective, not just of the baby growing in my belly, but of the woman I had been burying beneath his dreams. That night, I decided I would rise. Not for revenge, not for Kevin, but for me. For the little life depending on me. I moved out of the apartment we once shared and into a cramped studio in Queens. It was barely livable, cracked windows, a leaky faucet, but it was mine. I worked days at my accounting firm and spent nights building a side business offering freelance bookkeeping for small business owners. Every diaper I changed, every 3 a.m. feeding, every client I landed, I did it with purpose, with fire. My daughter, Ava, was born on a rainy Wednesday, the same kind of day I met Kevin. But instead of regret, I felt peace. She had his eyes, big and brown, but none of his emptiness. As the months passed, my business grew. By the time Ava turned 2, I had over 70 clients across the country, 3 remote employees, and a six-figure income. I rebranded and launched my own firm, Ava and Company. Financials, named after the girl who saved me. And then came the moment I'll never forget. 3 years after Kevin left me, I received a call from a commercial real estate agency. They were selling a mixed-use property in Soho, prime location, great value. One of the tenants, Alicia's Gallery, that I didn't blink. I bought the building. In full. 3 months later, I visited for an inspection, dressed in a tailored white pantsuit and red heels Ava had picked out. I walked into the gallery, now operating under new management. Kevin was there. He looked older, tired, and when his eyes met mine, he froze like he'd seen a ghost. "Maya," he whispered. I smiled. "Kevin." He looked at my outfit, then at the clipboard in my hand. "What are you doing here?" "Oh," I said casually, "just inspecting one of my buildings." His face crumpled. "You're what?" "I own this property now," I said. "Bought it last quarter." He looked around as if the walls would collapse on him. "Alicia sold the gallery. I was just managing it temporarily." "Interesting," I said with a gentle smirk. "Seems like the tables have turned." He swallowed hard. I've been meaning to reach out." "Why?" I asked. "You said I was holding you back, that I was emotionally draining." He looked down. "I was wrong." "You were," I said. "But it's okay. Sometimes people have to lose you to see your worth. Fortunately, I didn't need your validation to become valuable." He stared at me, probably expecting a hug, a coffee invite, a flicker of forgiveness. I gave him none. Instead, I walked out of the gallery and into the sunlight, where Ava waited on the sidewalk with her nanny, holding a chocolate ice cream and grinning with her whole face. "Mommy," she squealed, running into my arms. I scooped her up and whispered, "Let's go home, baby." Because home wasn't a man. It wasn't a ring. It wasn't a memory. It was me. It had always been me. If you loved the story, share it. Because somewhere, a woman is sitting in the dark, crying over a man who doesn't deserve her, and she needs to hear, "You are not broken. You are becoming."